What if a Hoffman's Mosasaurus suddenly descended upon modern Monterey Bay? Could it slaughter its way through the entire food chain and reclaim dominance over these waters? At this moment, on the edge of the dark submarine canyon in Monterey Bay, the density of the seawater suddenly distorts violently. A Hoffman's Mosasaurus, extinct for 66 million years, has just arrived. However, the one that crossed into the modern ocean is merely a newborn calf, 2.8 meters in length. Its first challenge after birth is to take its first breath in these uncharted waters. As a marine reptile that breathes with lungs, instinct drives it to swim frantically upward. It must breach the surface within minutes. Otherwise, its underdeveloped lungs will completely fail from hypoxia. It finally breaches the surface, greedily taking in its first breath of modern air. But everything is wrong. The atmospheric oxygen level is far lower than its genetic memory. The freezing seawater frantically consumes its meager metabolic heat. The surrounding scents are completely misaligned with its Cretaceous genetic memory. It has no time to process the terror of temporal displacement. Only one thought remains: a maddening hunger. Without immediate intake of high-energy flesh, it will be drained to death by these waters. The kelp forest is teeming with fish it has never seen before. Several consecutive ambushes fail because it underestimates the prey's agility. Stomach acid is already burning its internal organs. 6 hours after birth, it sinks to the muddy bottom of the kelp forest to ambush. Swinging its thick tail stalk, it sprints with all its might. Using its backward curving, conical teeth, it firmly locks onto a 30-pound giant marine catfish. Swallowing its first mouthful of warm blood, it learns the first rule of this ocean: kill in order to survive. But this scent of blood attracts the living reapers of these waters. 5 adult transient orcas, measuring 7 to 9 meters in length, silently complete their encirclement. The leading female orca bears a hideous, cross-shaped torn scar on her right eye patch. She is the notoriously fearsome apex predator of this bay. In their eyes, this calf of less than 3 meters is nothing more than a moving energy pack. Following the attack command from the matriarch, 2 young males instantly accelerate, ramming and cracking its flank. The air in its lungs is almost completely squeezed out. Another orca accurately bites onto its only core of propulsion. A piercing agony shoots through its tail stalk. It frantically twists its body, trailing a gushing line of blood, and plunges headfirst into a narrow, sharp rock crevice in the submarine canyon. Wedging itself tightly within the rock walls, it lowers its heart rate to the absolute minimum. It enters a near-death state of dormancy. Even as its oxygen-deprived lungs tear and its vision fades to black, it refuses to move an inch. Only when the water vibrations and low-frequency calls of the orcas completely dissipate does it dare to poke its head out to take a near-suffocating breath. This miserable defeat teaches it the most brutal iron rule. There are terrifying forces here that can easily crush it. During the half-year it survives in the crevice, relying on extremely low metabolic consumption, it lies dormant in the mud, waiting for passing hagfish and benthic crabs to wander by, crushing them whole, shell and flesh. The extreme scarcity of food forces its bones to grow slowly through starvation. Every wound that heals from a fight makes its dermal scales increasingly resilient, forming a set of dark, tough armor covering its entire body. Upon reaching 3.5 meters, it finally dares to slip out of the crevice to explore. Entering the edge of the kelp forest, it head-on encounters a Pacific salmon shark over 2 meters long. The shark locks its deadly gaze upon this unfamiliar predator and charges straight with bared teeth. The tyrannical genes of the Cretaceous reaper instantly ignite. Instead of dodging, it countercharges, using its flexible neck to twist away from the frontal bite. It viciously clamps onto the shark's pectoral fin, its teeth instantly locking deep into bone and flesh. Executing a frenzied death roll, it tears the shark's pectoral fin right off at the base. The wounded salmon shark flees in panic. Swallowing a mouthful of shark meat, the Mosasaurus realizes for the first time, as long as their sizes are comparable, its bloodline is invincible. Upon growing to 4 meters, it pays a heavy price for its arrogance. It rashly launches an ambush on a pod of 5 bottlenose dolphins. Missing its strike, it is instantly swarmed and attacked by 3 dolphins. Relying on extreme speed, the targets slam viciously into its soft underbelly from its blind spot. A clear sound of bone cracking echoes from within. It simply cannot lay a tooth on the agile dolphins. Forced to dive into the deep sea with all its remaining strength, It flees hundreds of meters before barely escaping. This near-death lesson makes it realize the second iron rule: never provoke schooling prey. Enduring terrifying water pressure, it dives into the 1,000-meter-deep, pitch-black waters of the Monterey Canyon. It locks its sights on a giant squid, exploding from the shadows to ambush. It bites down on the squid in one bite. The thick tentacles of the squid instantly wrap tightly around its head. The razor-sharp hooks of the suction cups tear into its skin. Thick black ink blinds its eyes. As its oxygen depletes rapidly, it refuses to let go. Its razor-sharp teeth frantically slash and sever the core of the squid's tentacles. It doesn't stop until the prey is completely lifeless. The highly nutritious blubber of the cephalopod triggers an explosive surge in its physical growth. Reaching 7 meters, the Mosasaurus makes a completely mad decision: to hunt a humpback whale calf. The mother is lured dozens of meters away by sea lions, leaving a window of opportunity of less than 20 seconds. It rockets upward from the abyss and violently clamps onto the calf, instantly tearing through its carotid artery. 10 seconds later, the enraged mother sweeps her massive tail, launching the predator several meters away. Excruciating pain shoots through its ribs, but the mother, guarding her dead calf, mourns for a long time before finally departing. Feasting on the whale meat, it has, at a heavy price, firmly secured its position as the apex predator of these waters. Upon reaching 10 meters, it becomes the absolute nightmare for great white sharks. It sneaks along the canyon walls against the light. This extreme ground-hugging movement renders the great white shark's visual and lateral line systems completely useless. By the time the ampullae of Lorenzini detect the bioelectric field at point-blank range, the abyssal jaws have already sealed off all escape routes. With a terrifying bite force, it snaps a 4-meter adult great white shark right in half. By this time, it has truly cemented itself at the very top of the modern ocean's food chain. Aside from that one pod of orcas, it has no rivals. In its 10th year, it completes its final growth metamorphosis. Measuring 15 meters in length and weighing 22 tons, its body is covered in white scars left by 10 years of brutal combat and trial and error. Its tough skin acts as dark, heavy armor, practically indestructible. It has become the only fully matured specimen in this ocean. Early this morning, for the Hoffman's Mosasaurus, a familiar, piercing low-frequency whistle cuts through the deep water, crashing straight into its auditory nerves. It is those same 5 orcas. The cross-shaped scar on the matriarch's eye patch is as hideous as ever. Enemies face off. Like a heavy black torpedo, the Mosasaurus rapidly surges upward from the 1,000-meter abyss, following a piercing alarm cry from the matriarch. The pod's formation scatters instantly, flawlessly dodging its fatal upward strike, but relying on its immensely flexible spine. Its 15-meter massive body executes a violent, sharp turn in the water. Its abyssal jaws clamp ferociously onto the flank of the trailing, isolated orca. The lethal pterygoid teeth on the inner roof of its mouth instantly pierce deep into muscle and embed themselves into the spine, executing a relentless death roll. Accompanied by a sickening, muffled sound of shattering bones, the 6-ton orca is crushed without even uttering a cry. Its chest cavity utterly shredded. Huge chunks of flesh and blood explode in the water. The brutal death of their companion forces the orca pod to fully switch into kill mode. Under the matriarch's command, the remaining 4 orcas weave a net of low-frequency communication clicks. Abandoning head-on confrontation, they turn into 4 precise underwater scalpels. Exploiting their absolute speed advantage, 2 orcas flank from left and right, ruthlessly cutting into the Mosasaurus's blind spots. Their sharp, conical teeth fiercely embed into its flanks. With violent tears, they rip off massive chunks of flesh and dermal scales. The Mosasaurus furiously thrashes its massive body, its razor teeth gnashing wildly against the seawater. But it can never land a hit on the hit-and-run orcas. These highly intelligent killers are absolute masters of the hunt. They never get greedy with their bites. Every strike accurately targets its flippers and tail stalk, the cores of its propulsion. Like a pack of wolves, they synergize perfectly to drain its stamina. The high-intensity, anaerobic brawl forces the lung-breathing Mosasaurus to accumulate a massive amount of lactic acid. Its muscles begin to spasm uncontrollably from the ache. It must surface for air. As the Mosasaurus makes a desperate dash for the surface, the orca pod's ultimate, uncounterable death blow arrives. Using their blinding speed, 2 orcas viciously ram its broken ribs from the side, forcibly cutting off its upward trajectory. Meanwhile, the other two furiously tear at its pectoral fins and tail stalk. Using their terrifying bite force, they relentlessly drag it down toward the abyss. These highly intelligent hunters coordinate seamlessly, aiming to drown this 22-ton prehistoric behemoth alive. In the very depths it was meant to rule. With its lungs completely collapsed, the excruciating pain of suffocation sweeps through its body. In the final moment before its consciousness fades to black, the Mosasaurus squeezes out the last drop of potential from its body. Abandoning all defense, it allows its hind flippers to be bitten straight through, contorting its long body to the extreme underwater. It exerts a sudden, violent backward snap of its head. That terrifying row of pterygoid teeth locks onto the matriarch orca's throat with lethal precision. It no longer struggles to surface. The Mosasaurus retracts all its flippers, and with a suicidal resolve, clamps tightly on the frantically struggling orca. Dragging the matriarch toward the Monterey Canyon, they plummet rapidly into the pitch-black seabed, 3,000 meters deep. The high pressure of the deep sea mercilessly crushes the orca's ribs, emitting a sickening sound of shattering bone. The Mosasaurus's snout releases its final, faint string of bubbles. Together with its nemesis, it completely vanishes into the eternal night of the abyss. The splashing on the surface finally subsides, leaving only a thick mist of blood blooming in the water. The three surviving orcas pant in terror, their bodies covered in severe lacerations. Through sheer tactics, the pod has slain the fully matured ancient overlord, but at the agonizing cost of losing their matriarch and companion, whose bodies are now lost forever. In this bloody battle, there are no true winners. As for that Hoffman's Mosasaurus, it used the most tragic method of mutual destruction to defend the unyielding, final dignity of the Cretaceous Reaper. Above sea level, aboard a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier cruising the Pacific, an operator in the radar control room stares intently at the sonar screen. That strong echo signal, representing a massive, unknown biological entity, rapidly plummets toward the canyon abyss and eventually extinguishes completely. However, the alarm is not cleared. The piercing, highest-level red alert echoes through the command center once again. This time, the radar-locked coordinates span halfway across the globe, pinpointing deep within the sweltering, humid Amazon rainforest of South America. On the scanning grid, a murky swamp shrouded in tropical miasma undergoes an extremely violent spatiotemporal distortion. In the muddy water, an outrageously thick, unknown cold-blooded silhouette, exuding a suffocating sense of oppression, silently slithers past the massive roots of a strangler fig. The ultimate nightmare of the terrestrial ecosystem has awakened.